Boulder, Colorado. Elite men are coming through here. Pretty early in the race still. They changed the course for the elite field this year. Coming down Folsom, the opposite way that people are finishing. That other way is finishing last kilometer. So let's look at their running form here. You guys are moving. Alright, so this is pretty early in the race, just the first couple kilometers, the pack's still going. The guy who starts in the lead ends in the lead. He actually ends up winning the race. Not always the case, of course, with distance running, but that's kind of the joke. Obviously feeling very smooth and efficient from the start. I believe he started with about a 4:20 first mile. I'll put the kilometer pace there, but extremely fast start for a hilly race at altitude. As the Boulder 10K. It's not the fastest 10K course. But you could see as these guys run by in a pack, second and third place are kind of in sync there. We could see their foot strike, very long stride. To be running this pace, this fast, you have to have a really long stride, maybe almost a 2-meter stride, 6-foot stride. A lot of these guys are not even that tall. But then also the cadence, the high turnover. 10K are usually a faster cadence, but most of these guys are well over 180 steps a minute. It's going to be... If you're under that, you're probably either not running very fast or you're not running very efficiently. Speed, of course, is a product of stride rate or cadence multiplied by stride length or the distance you cover with each step. So here we have the elite women's field coming through about 9K. They have a kilometer to go up Folsom. You could see individual differences in running form, and the main thing I want to highlight besides the foot strike, forward lean with the body, is how different these elite runners all are. They're all running really fast times for 10K, 33, 34 minutes for the women, 28:30 for the 10K men's champion, but they all don't have textbook perfect form, but it might be textbook perfect form for their individual body. And that's what you want to apply with your own running form, is that you're not going to have this perfect textbook form maybe, according to physics, but you have to work with what you've been given. A lot of it depends on body weight distribution, how big your arms are relative to your legs, how tall you are, some of your flexibility, some of your muscle imbalances, or what's in tune with your muscles, what types of shoes you're wearing. All these things are going to influence your form, as well as how you think about your form while you're actually running. But the real key is to try to stay efficient so you could run faster, but also to run in a way that you don't get injured and you don't get a tendon strain or muscle strain or some sort of skeletal muscular injury. You want to be able to train relatively pain-free. Of course, with the fatigue of running fast and hard, it's a very tough sport. It's demanding on the body. It hurts a lot. You're going to be challenged mainly by the limitations of your cardiovascular system, what's inside, how good your blood flow is, how good the oxygen flow is with each heartbeat, and how your muscle fibers, how strong they are. So it's really not all about running form. It's what's inside that counts. The cardiovascular system, your mental toughness, race strategy, things like that. However, if you keep getting injured or you want to improve your form, these are some basic aspects that we could learn from these super fast, super fit runners. You could see Hoka One teammate Alafine here in the lead. She's really throwing down. She's got a really fast cadence, really fast stride rate. You could see these top women have a very high arm carriage. The angle of their elbow joint is really high. They're thrashing their arms, doing whatever they can to try to power up this last kilometer in the Boulder and go for the win, being very competitive. Whereas some of the other runners, most notably a few of the Japanese runners, have a really low arm carriage. Their arms are hanging really low. The elbow joint is a lot greater. And that kind of just shows the difference, especially with arm swing, that you see between people. It's probably the greatest thing that varies the most with running form is how you swing your arms, how high you carry your hands, what the elbow angle is with each arm swing. And you can see that the arms aren't perfectly symmetrical. One arm maybe thrashes more to the side than another arm. One arm's up higher than the other. You can see the hand placement changes. And that's because the arms bring out the imbalances in the legs. Your arms are doing what your legs are doing, but you're throwing your body weight around, and you're twisting through your whole core, your hips and your glutes, your butt, as well as your abs and your stomach and lower back. And the arms have to counterbalance some of that rotation and the force being applied by the legs and the feet with each step and each push-off. Another Hoka teammate, Stephanie Bruce here. I believe she's wearing the Hoka One One Carbon Rocket shoe, 1mm drop type of shoe. Powering away. You can see she has a very fast stride, even with fatigue building in the last kilometer. Generally, as you get tired later on in a race, your stride rate drops, and you want to just try to keep it as fast as possible, because if you're losing power with your stride length, you got to keep that stride rate up. And you could see she's almost, you call it a shuffle stride. See the difference with some of these runners, they're either shufflers, more of the marathon clip stride, efficient stride, maybe landing farther back on the foot. I don't want to say heel striking, but definitely not up on their forefoot, not up on the balls of their foot necessarily, which could be very efficient, especially for distance running. It's not efficient for sprinting, though. Here comes the elite men. Good job. This stride is not as bouncy. Wow, he's way ahead. I can't believe how far ahead he is. Whereas these other runners are more up on the balls of their feet, and they have a more ballistic type of stride with a lot of vertical oscillation, a lot of bounce or pop per se. One is not necessarily better than the other. Generally, you will see a lot of the top runners at 10K and below having a very ballistic stride, but again, this race brings in some world-class marathon runners as well as half marathon runners, longer distance specialists, and they are very efficient with the shuffle stride. And even the men's champion who won, he doesn't have the most bounce or pop in his stride. He's more gliding along, and you could see that with a lower foot lift in the back, as well as how fast his stride rate or cadence is, right? It's well over 180 steps a minute, very fast clip stride. Good job. Some of these other guys still in the top 10 have a more bouncy type of stride. They're really springing off the ground. They have a high back kick, their heels almost coming up to their butt. But again, still a really fast cadence. And of course it helps to be racing a shorter distance race rather than a marathon, but their cadence would not change much even if they were racing a longer race like a marathon or half marathon. What changes mainly there is that their stride rate would be a little bit shorter, because you can't generate that kind of extreme power for a long stride in a 13.1 mile or 42.2K distance race. You have to dial it back just a little bit, otherwise you wouldn't be able to support the workload. Because if you're running with a stride rate or cadence of under 165 steps per minute, it's usually going to be almost too slow, and you're bouncing more like pogo sticks, like your legs are like pogo sticks, and you're going to be coming down with more impact force at such a slow stride rate. Whereas if you could pick up the stride rate over 165 steps per minute, you're going to be landing probably more under your center of mass, as well as having less impact force with each foot strike.